In one country western favorite, Kenny Rogers spins a tale about a conversation he once had with an old gambler who told him he had to know when to hold, know when to fold, know when to walk away, and know when to run. And evidently the old country doctor, Ralph Northam, never paid attention to the song because last week he began a stroll to the casino, flashing his money to tell everybody every card he had in his hand how he intended to break the casino with a sweeping requirement for everyone reopening the state from a lockdown to begin wearing masks. And he rolled the dice. It sounds innocuous. It sounds reasonable, and you want to trust him because he is a doctor. But always read the indications on the prescription label and always get a second opinion if you don't know anything about the disease, they say, because what Ralph did was try to play you for a sucker with a bluff in a game of high-stakes politics. So if you don't know what you bought, let me tell you what Ralph sold you. First of all, Ralph convinced you that he was a doctor, very convincingly for some, and told you that there was science to support the idea that wearing face covering, note not medical grade protective mask, but face covering would prevent you from becoming infected with a novel coronavirus he describes as COVID-19. Any real doctor doesn't call it COVID-19, but rather SARS-CoV-2, the name that virologists gave it, even at the World Health Organization, when they examined it scientifically under a microscope and found it to have over a 90% profile match to SARS, the pathogen that caused the lethal outbreak in Hong Kong in 2003. Now, if you're a salesman, there are some things that you can say on television and in commercials, little white lies that don't hurt anyone, or puffery, as attorneys say in court. Things like new and improved product. Even saying that your product is better than the other guys, as long as you don't tell anyone exactly how and lie about it. Avoid specifics is the rule of salesmanship. But if you are a doctor and got a doctor to sign off on what you say as the governor, there is an obligation to be as truthful as possible. And even though Dr. Northam told everyone there is new science discovering that a bandana on your face will protect you from infection. As much as we may want to believe that that truly is the case in the wonderful breakthroughs in technology and science that we are having, unfortunately, there is not one iota of evidence to suggest that that statement might even be close to true, and rather clear and convincing evidence concludes that a bandana in a pandemic on your face as protection against infection is just as good advice as having a doctor tell you to go out and kill yourself. But if you believe in the impenetrable qualities of cotton fibers and want to grab on with your dying hands to your bandana, there is more bad news about the mask that Dr. Ralph sold Virginians to win an election. We have had over a year of class on abuse of power, legislative prerogative, and obstruction of Congress. So this should be pretty easy to understand. Dr. Ralph used a law that enabled him to use the powers of law enforcement to create a misdemeanor that could, if enforced, put you in jail for failure to comply. And that is all that that law authorizes the governor to do. And he cannot do anything unless he gets authorization from the legislature, like the impounded Ukrainian funds in the impeachment debacle. As much as Ralph may want to give Dr. Norman Oliver a badge to go out and start becoming the public health police, without a law already in place, he simply cannot do that. He cannot create a new police force. People are talking about he can go and do a civil action. Well, again, that is something entirely different, and there would have to be a law to do that. But no, he cannot say that Dr. Norman, whose real name is Dr. Mohammed Norman Oliver, and who may not have gone to college, he can't do that. And even Ralph, when he told everyone about a week ago that he was thinking exactly what he was thinking about. He did mention that there is a law in Virginia that makes it a felony for an adult to go out in public with his face covered. It's a good law. It works so as to hide his or her identity. There's just something, mischievous about people running around with masks on when they shouldn't have them. It's the same reason that you can't have smoke gray tinting on your car windows or hide your license plate. And when banks and stores get robbed, for whatever reason, it's always a good idea for them to know how to catch the bad guys. And it's pretty difficult if they don't have an ability to discern who the bad guys are, because everyone else is also in a mask. And the only reason it seems to be that he did this whole thing was because it is an election year. And he believed, probably for good reason, that he could get away with it. He probably felt pretty powerful knowing that he could say Simon Says, do this, and the majority of voters in Virginia who gave the Democrat Party the legislature back in the last election would probably not even think about raising a question. But forget about infections, which are meaningless in a public health crisis, and focus on the fact that there are, in fact, over 4,300 people today in a hospital bed, and over 1,200 dead. And over half of the victims could have been prevented if Ralph did not want to win an election, or if Democrat leaders had decided not to simply follow orders. But today, we filed a motion for an injunction in an ongoing case to stop this reckless conduct, which, believe it or not, will probably make some folks a bit perturbed. But if you are ever invited to a poker game and don't know who the sucker is, gamblers say it's probably you. My name is Major Mike Webb, and I am running for Congress. It's liberty, honor, and excellence. By God, we shall make America great again. Honest.
This advertisement was authorized by Mike Webb.
Oh, and sucker, I mean informed voter, read the fine print, because if you do actually wear medical grade protection and you are not a medical professional, it's a class 5 felony under the old law. Honest.